Call this meeting to order at 2:20. Councilor Austin, would you give a blessing, please?
Please join me. Lord, I consider it a privilege and an honor to be at this table representing a district of the Cherokee Nation, and I thank you for all those who join me at this table in this common cause of watching after the business of the Cherokee people. We ask that you guide us, you lead us, you help us make wise decisions as we go about our job, and you never allow us to lose focus on the reason why we do what we do. In your name, we pray. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Sir, Rex Jordan. Here. Joe Smith.
Here.
Keith Austin.
Here.
Harley Bezer.
Here.
Joe Bird.
Honey.
Renee Coates. Here. Sean Crittenden.
Here.
Joe Deere.
Aye.
Mike Dobbins.
Here.
Tannen Duncan. Darrell Legg.
Here.
Lauren Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Mike Sheffield.
Here.
Mary Bakershaw.
Honey.
Denise Taylor. Here. Victoria Beth West. We have a quorum.
Need approval of the minutes from January the 13th.
So moved. So moved.
Got a motion? Like a cat. And an approval. And an approval. Need a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Management Resources, Mr. David Moore.
Good afternoon, good to see you all here. Full house, that's always good this time of year with all the flu and coughing and water and snow. We're trying to keep our head above the water with natural resource, or land management and facilities. We've been prepared for both ice and snowstorms. That didn't happen, but we were ready.
As long as you're ready.
So, but you have a report. If I can answer any questions, I'll be happy to try to or get you the answer.
Any questions for David?
All this wet weather make that fence fixing better?
It is slowing us down because it's like we get 1 or 2 days of drying and then rains
Y'all been
again.
tearing it up though, over 2 miles, that's pretty good.
It's a bigger project than what it started out to be. The back fence, about a mile of the back fence was pretty rough shape, so they've rebuilt that. So
All right, good deal.
Shaw?
Yes. David, I saw in your report that you all changed out all the bulbs and bells to LED lighting at the Stillwell complex.
we're trying to do that everywhere.
You are trying to, what are we doing with the old bulbs?
Well, we have a recycle center and the fluorescent bulbs, that's the only way you can get rid of them, is not throw them in the trash, but recycle them.
I was just wondering if it's possible, if we have citizens who could benefit from the use
We
of
can
these
check
bulbs.
on that. I don't know. We'll probably have to get it to the warehouse. That, go that route. So, but I can,
I just
we can
hate to
ask
see
them.
anything wasted that might help. other people.
yeah, but that's kind of, it's not a control, it can be a controlled deal when you get too much of it. But, we can ask the warehouse if they can store it and then you guys can get it out to the citizens.
I just think there might be even community buildings and things that could benefit from those.
Yeah, we can sure look into that.
Thank you.
Wes?
Just more or less a comment and then a question. I think everyone up here has been good that we've moved some hay from Delonaghy over here to the casino. I think you guys have noticed that it's been just kind of flying off the
Yeah.
field over there. Is that something we're going to possibly look at doing next year and the year after that, is bringing some over here?
We usually have some around here, but
Yeah.
the main reason we did it was, it's wet around here and we were getting people stuck left and right. And,
Yeah.
Dale decided, or, he asked me, hey, is there a spot we can put it? And that's the best we could come up with. It's gravel all in that area.
Yeah.
And it's easy in and out with your
Yeah.
trailers. That's the main reason we did it. Other than that, we have some up on the hill and different things. But towards the end of the year, we'll probably do stuff like this.
Okay.
Just to kind of, and we're at the point now, there's really not any more hay to sell right now.
Yeah.
Few bales here and there.
Yeah.
But when we get closer to the end of feeding season, we'll know what our inventory is for our buffalo, whether there'll be
Okay.
any left.
Y'all just going to leave it up there? Y'all going to try to move something
Right
down
now,
from
we'll
there?
leave it up there until we get, an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, then
Okay.
we can bring some, I mean, I think we're moving some to Delonaghy right now. Even.
Yeah.
I think we had 25 bales sell down there. So
Okay.
try to help the best we can.
Well, a lot of people enjoyed it. And
Yeah.
appreciate it. So, all right.
Harley?
David, I noticed you have a fleet service center.
Yes,
They
sir.
do services for GSA vehicles or just travel?
Both.
Both?
Yes, sir.
So we do get a charge, or we can charge for
Yeah.
GSA, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dave, just had two sets of elders that got some wood the other day, and we all have our ideas about how that should work, who should do it, but main thing is I sent it in and they got it.
Yeah,
So,
it's
thank
getting
you.
done. Now, it was a group effort.
Thank you.
I can tell you that. We all
Well, that's all I'm
jump
asking.
on it. And, yeah.
If it's
Hopefully we
elder
get,
cold and
yeah.
get some wood, and I don't care
Hopefully
who
we
does
get
it.
better and better at it.
Thank you.
Something.
Thank you.
Any other questions for David? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good report. Real estate services, Reeves.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Ginger. Hi, Ginger.
You have a copy of my report in front of you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to address them.
Any questions, John?
Hey, Ginger, there was a property that someone thought they were gonna do something on, didn't pan out. But, you probably know which one I'm talking about. There in Stillwell. So, anybody else has any ideas, they just come to you guys?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All
Just
right.
contact us, and then we'll vet it out through this group, through the administration. Yes.
Have there been any other ideas after the one we had?
Not after that one.
Okay.
No.
All
Not
right.
after that one. When they were talking about it, there were a couple, but one that may have worked, but they haven't been back.
Okay. Just get with you guys. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Harley?
Ginger, I see where we purchased 140 acres of land.
Yes.
Where's that located?
It connects to, back behind Sequoia One. Sequoia One is around the powwow grounds. And the 140 acres, it was also known as the Roach property. It connects to us. It's a great piece of property at a good purchase.
Is there any plans for it, or is it just something that we want to connect to?
There's been a few ideas to put out there, but nothing concrete at this time. Yes.
And then I saw there were like 4 trespass issues. What are those mainly pertain to?
On the report,
Yeah.
a lot of times it will be on restricted land and
Okay.
on restricted land, and we just have to go out there and sometimes
Probably kind of like that one at J, where the people are moving stuff.
somewhat like that. Yes, they're all different. They're all different.
It'd be interesting to see, you know, we have properties that, and I know where a lot of our Cherokee Nation properties are, but I don't know where all of them are. Would it be possible to get me a copy of what lands we own?
I could do a map that we have
That would be
right
great.
now within our jurisdiction area. It would be trust property and fee property.
And fee property, I'd like to see that. If you could just shoot me one or email me
Okay,
one.
and I may include it in the next report.
Oh, okay, that'd be fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Any other questions for Ginger?
You got an update on that North Tulsa property we had turned in for people to look at?
I do not. I haven't talked to CNB recently. I will get with them on that for you. I don't know if you have talked to them, but I have not.
Okay.
But I will get something. I'll make a phone call and see
Okay.
if they have.
Harley?
I just had a follow-up question, Ginger. Do we have, and I know you're over that property part, do we have a, and I call them planners, of what we're gonna do with these properties and what's in the final stages of them? It's kind of like at this travel complex here. I've been here for years and years, and I don't know that we ever had a architect planner to come in and look at that and say, well, in 10 years, you're gonna have to add on, this is what we're gonna do. On land stuff, do we have anybody that evaluates the land and tell us what maybe it's best used for?
You know, at this time, we don't, but that's something we've talked about doing.
And I just thought
Getting
about,
like the 5 or 10 year plan.
Sure,
20-year
sure.
plan.
and the reason I bring that up is because in the road program, we know what we're gonna do in 7 years from now. And it's just like expanding. A good example is our school building at J. We didn't have a planner to plan anything for us, and now it's strung out over 5 acres up there, and kids have to walk a half a mile to go to the classroom because we didn't have a planner to look at it and see. And I thought about that, about the tribe, you know. Do we have a person that looks at long-range planning for all of our properties, all of our buildings, and even in agriculture, what we're gonna do with the land that we're buying? So,
Right.
just a thought, you know, to keep that in mind. It sound like you're already
That's a good
thinking about it.
idea, and we have looked at that.
Sure. Good deal. Thanks, sir.
Ginger, do we have maybe legislation in place that if there's land out there that's restricted land, there's no heirs to claim, does it revert back to the tribe?
In most circumstances, yes, it does. Yes.
Okay, well, I think that's a good policy to have in place, because we would just lose it.
It's basically a code of federal regulations that does that.
Okay. And total acreage we have as a tribe, do you have that off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head. Joel? About 614,000, right, less than 614,000 that we all received.
Total acres?
I know you gave that to us one time by districts, how much land was there, and what was fee simple, and what was, in trust. So sometimes get that report to us if you would, please.
I will include it in the next report as far as what our trust restricted fee property is.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Sir.
Thank you, sir.
See that in my district.
Are you gonna be around for a little bit after you're done? You
Yes,
plan
sir.
on leaving?
No, I'll be here.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions for Ginger?
Just a clarification what Speaker Byrd asked. So there's not a policy, there's not a piece of legislation that's in place though, where we would get that restricted land back if there's no error? It's just a policy where it most likely happens?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Is that, whenever he asked about if there's, on a restricted status, if there's no error in it, there's just a policy, but there's no piece of legislation out there that says that we're getting that land back, correct?
No, it would be just any tribe, I think, any of the 5 tribes. That's how it is. If I didn't have any issue, if I didn't have any children and I had a piece of restricted property and didn't leave the property to anyone, then it would revert to the tribe, as long as it was in our jurisdiction and a piece of allotee land from the Cherokee tribal allotee.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Good question.
So, and Joel, you can help me with this. So we just had a case, a lady came to me about her relative's property. There's a quiet title trying to get passed through the courthouse, so they're trying to take that land. And so I thought if it was what you said, if it was restricted, it just comes back to us. But see, this was Indian land.
No, the question that Speaker Byrd presented was if there was no issue, no children,
Yeah.
no heir at all, then it would revert back to the tribe in that jurisdiction.
Then how are they trying to do a quiet title? Because they didn't realize that this lady caught it in the paper. That was her kinfolk.
It's a totally different
I got you.
matter. It would be a totally different matter when you file a quiet title. It's just a different situation altogether. It could be. I mean, you might have a person mentioned as a defendant. I'm not an attorney, okay?
Yeah.
But you might have a person mentioned as a defendant who may not have any heirs. And if they don't have any heirs, but there's still going to be other people that they're going to try to quiet the title to the property for. I don't know if that answers your question, but I'll be happy to talk to you about it and explain it further after this.
Any other questions for Ginger? Thank you, ma'am. Environmental programs. You're not Mr. Tom Elkins.
Well, you're moving right along.
You know how you do.
Good afternoon. Mr. Elkins is currently on travel with one of our grant programs, so he's not able to make it here today. So I think his report has been circulated. If you have any questions, I can try to answer them.
Anyone have any questions for the environmental programs? Sean?
Yeah, I'd like to visit with you here in a little bit. That date on the old landfill, visit here in a little bit. Thank you.
Mary?
Yes. Thank you for reporting to us today. Appreciate that. It says here the new cell at the landfill is finished. I'm sorry, explain a cell to me. I don't understand.
So the new cell of the landfill is, I would say, 99% complete. And so the way the landfill works is that you have, I guess it's a hole in the ground that lined with clay and synthetic liners, and that is where you place trash over the course of operations. And then once it reaches its capacity, then it's capped and sealed, and a new cell is constructed. So part of operating a landfill is you have to develop out various cells, so that way you can keep the flow of trash coming in until you get to a place where you've ultimately reached closure. And so this will be, I want to say it's our 4th cell over the life of this facility. And it is almost complete. The engineers have already done all of their work, and they're just kind of punch listing last items. And so with that, we will have additional space to put trash for the municipal streams that we have coming from Tahlequah and Stillwell.
I didn't understand. Thank you for explaining that.
Sure.
How long will the cell, how long is it projected that it will last?
You know, that really depends on the how fast you want to fill it up, right? And so one of the things that we're looking at, we have new equipment, and I want to restate to the body we appreciate helping us get through some of our deficiencies there. But how long a cell lasts depends on what flow of trash that you want to take. And one of the things that we're looking at right now is evaluating the total cost of that cell and using that to identify what the appropriate tipping fee is going to be, or price per cubic yard or price per ton. So that way you can find a break-even point and perhaps even a profit point on what you need to receive daily and what that amount needs to be for the charge. So it's hard to say at this moment how long it's going to last. I would say at least 2 to 3 years. It could last even 5 years. It depends on how we control the inflow of trash, and we'll have a better understanding of that in the next couple of months and throughout maybe by the end of the year when we complete our master plan that we have received a grant for engineers to come and help us make some of those assessments.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just follow up on the landfill, Chad. New administration, new era here. If I get a constituent asking me about our plan to close it or not, what has the conversations been lately? And your plan as the new director there.
So I think the ultimate goal of all landfills are to move ahead towards closure. No landfill stays open forever, so that's obviously where we're ultimately headed. And moving forward and how fast we want to achieve that goal is going to depend on some of the assessments that we get from this master plan about what it's going to cost for closure.
When did you say that was coming?
We should have the master plan, my hope is, by the end of the year. It's pretty comprehensive. We were awarded a pretty substantial grant to study everything from environmental concerns, operational factors, engineering aspects, closure requirements. I mean, it's going to be comprehensive, and it's going to be a very solid guide for what our operations are going to be like going forward. Now, with that, we'll have the flexibility to decide how long we want to keep operating with the regulatory and financial consequences of that decision. So it'll be really helpful to give us a roadmap going forward. But I would say the landfill is not in any immediate threat of closing. We just completed a cell that's going to last hopefully several years, perhaps longer. And but eventually the landfill is going to close. Now there's options when that happens. You can set up a transfer station. There's a number of different ways you can handle that, but we don't really have a clear picture of what that's going to look like until we know the lay of the land and have an opportunity to evaluate all the factors.
Around December, you can kind of update us.
That's my hope.
Planning.
But if for some reason there's a delay in getting that report, I'll let you know certainly in advance.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Chad, when we purchased land like the 140 acres, I assume we've already done an environmental on that, or do we do the environmental right after we purchase?
You're talking about on general land purchases?
Yes.
I don't know if we actually perform an environmental on every purchase, Joel.
On land purchases? Not unless we're interested in it, not just
Right. I think we do some level of environmental review on all properties that we purchase to make sure we're obviously not getting something that has environmental impacts. Now, we do environmental assessments on constructions that are tied to various permits that we have through the Housing Authority. We review every single one of those, I believe.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? You want to go into to your natural resources?
Yes, please.
Go right ahead.
One of the things that you folks have probably seen is some press release that we had regarding seeds that we've sent to the Svalbard depository in Norway. We've got a surprising amount of press attention on that, and I think it's really elevated the work that we do with our seed bank and our garden. With that being said, we have to acknowledge the work that Pat Gwynn and Feather Smith-Servino have done over there. This is their project. They've worked on it for many, many, many years, and this is one of the objectives and goals that they've been working towards, is to get these seeds protected for generations in this depository in Norway. And so we really appreciate their work, and it certainly wouldn't be possible without the efforts that they've had over the last decade. Moving forward, so far, year to date, we have submitted mailed out 240 packages within 1 year, within 1 month of this year, to citizens that request them. We provide those packets to the extent that we have available supplies to anyone who requests them that's a Cherokee citizen, whether Cherokee Nation or the other two federally recognized tribes, and certain selected groups that have Cherokee membership that are consistent with our program objectives. Last year, we mailed out just shy of 10,000 packets, which is an incredible number of people that are interested in this program, which I think speaks volumes to how it's grown over the years. Hopefully this year we'll beat that if our crops yield that sufficient supply, so it's something we're really proud of. The Hemp and Cannabis Work Group, we had our first meeting last week on this, outlining kind of what our trajectory is going to be, timeframes for deliverables of reviews. We're moving forward on some of the jurisdictional and technical issues. It is a really complex project that we're working on. There's, particularly when you have the regulatory side involving tribal government, it creates a lot of delicate jurisdictional issues that you have to consider that would not be typical for other folks in this industry. So we're working aggressively to get to where we need to be. And again, that report we anticipate having to you by the end of May. We've also gotten a lot of interest from the community on this. It's been, with this, in this industry, there's a lot of confusion that circulates out there, and there's been a lot of folks who are really excited that we're trying to bring clarity to some of these issues. One of the things that we decided in our first meeting of the work group is that we're going to establish an email address. I should have that ready to go by the middle of the week, and I'll circulate it to this group and my accompanying press release, where we'll have one central location to pull in a lot of the questions, concerns, and comments that we've been getting. I know that people are probably reaching out to you, and we can share that, pull it in, and get a response to every one of those comments and make sure that it's something we're evaluating and considering on the work group. So we're still in the early stages, but we're moving forward very well on that, and hopefully I'll have some more to report to you in a couple of months. The other issue I wanted to address was our hunting and fishing licenses. I think at our last meeting, we had received the information from the state that we needed to do our mass mailing, and we've since mailed out licenses to every citizen that we had listed as of that time, with a total of just over 120,000 licenses that went out. So that was a huge feat for processing those, and we appreciate staff in the mailroom working with us to get those out timely. And we've also had a fair amount of those come back for insufficient address, so that's one thing we're looking at trying to pin down a little better to reduce, obviously, some of the mail costs and make sure folks have their licenses. Now, even if the license is returned because they didn't receive it at their address, that doesn't mean that they don't have one. The license is still issued, and it's tied to their identifiable information, whether it be Social Security number, driver's license number in the system. So they will still have one, they just don't physically have a paper copy. They're able to get an official copy by calling us, and we'll print it out and mail it to them at the Fish and Wildlife booth. And then also downloading the Oklahoma app, you can sync licenses that are registered to you, your name, Social Security number, driver's license number, and have it instantly there, and that's sufficient for regulatory purposes of hunting and fishing. You can show them that app, print out, and you're good. So despite the 120,000 licenses, the interest in this program is also very high, and we've already issued an additional 1,100 licenses in the month of January to folks who've come in and requested them. Information update form is available online. That can be mailed in, faxed. We're trying to explore opportunities to make it more interactive online. So hopefully in the next 6 or 7 months, we'll have something that we could roll out to make it more seamless instead of having to actually fax or mail, but that's one of our projects that we're looking at. The only other update that I have is a national zinc. So one of the sites that we operate, or not that we operate, but one of the things that our environmental programs manages is our Natural Resource Damage Assessment and Restoration Program, which is a partnership with the Department of Interior to identify sites of environmental concern and identify resources and potentially responsible parties that can help with remediation activities there. This particular site is located near Bartlesville, and it is a former zinc smelting operation that has resulted in quite a bit of damage in that area. We formed a work group maybe 10 years ago with the Department of Interior, which would be the Solicitor's Office, Fish and Wildlife Service, BIA. Also, the Delaware tribe was involved in this one, and the Osage Nation, all having either immediate or residual impacts from this site close to where their land base is. And we have been working through settlement with one of the responsible parties, and we've accomplished that. I think it was late last year. And the petition was filed for consent decree, meaning they agreed that they would pay us up to $1.5 million for their portion of the potential liability. And then that money has been set aside through petition, public comment, and the Federal Register has expired last week with no comments offered, which means the court will approve it and we'll move on receiving the funds. That'll be held by the trustee, which is the Department of Interior, and we'll start evaluating mitigation and reclamation activities at that site, moving in lockstep with the Delaware tribe and the Osage Nation and Department of Interior. So it's a project that we've been trying to wind up for a long time. I think it's a good outcome. It's going to bring a lot of remediation activities to that site, and I wanted you to have an update on that in terms of settlement, and our next steps are a little bit unclear as we get past the assessment side and start putting projects on the ground. Now, just to make clear, that no dollar that we receive from this settlement will come to us for personal expenses, nor will it come to any of the other tribes. It's dedicated and set aside specifically for restoration activities. So we think we're going to get a lot of work done out that side over the next several years. It's been a busy month for us. That's the highlights that I have for the work that we've done, and if I can answer any questions if you have them.
Barry?
Yes. Chad, you said you had issued 120,000 fishing and hanging licenses, plus an additional 1,100 to people who requested them. Who were the 1,100 who requested them?
Those are folks that didn't previously have a license that have submitted a request to our office.
So, was this newly registered Cherokees, or?
It could be. It could also be, Cherokees that lived outside of the jurisdiction according to our latest records that have since moved in, and they wondered why they didn't get a license, and it's because now they met the requirements for under the compact to have one. A lot of these are folks who did not have sufficient information in our database to issue them, and so there's a number of different reasons why that would be, and I would say this is fairly consistent number with what we've had in the past, especially after we announce, because folks get interested and they want to understand what's available to them.
Certainly, and we're still working to see if we can acquire additional fishing and hunting licenses for any application like visit Oklahoma.
Absolutely. One of the things we're working on is expanding access generally, including folks available, perhaps some at-large folks outside of Oklahoma. It's one of the things we're pushing on, and again, it has been a difficult conversation with the state, but it's one we're certainly having. And one of the other things we're also trying to address is what information can we provide from our system that doesn't necessarily meet the general requirements that they have to increase the number of licenses that we issue, like, for example, your CN number. There's some balancing points there because there's other registries that prevent people from getting licenses, for example, unpaid child support. So finding exactly how we can strike that balance is one of the things we're working on over the next year.
I want you to know I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions? John?
Now the state knows that we hold the ball, right? I mean, the way I'm looking at that is, we're working with them, and I think if we saved up enough lawyer money, I think we could send a Cherokee all the way to the top, not even have to do a compact, but the state realizes they need to really have that ear listening to us, don't they?
I mean, I hope so. I think that the whole idea behind compacting is that you eliminate uncertainty and risk associated with litigation. Now, I think we have a strong case. I think, in Indian country perspective, that's generally the general consensus, but the state obviously might feel differently about that, and I suspect they do.
But we could even go up higher than that, right?
I mean, we could, but it would have to be in the context of litigation.
Right, that's what I'm talking about, is I've always heard that myth, we might have talked about it before, maybe not a myth, I think it's true that, well, we gotta have somebody that'll take it all the way up. And, like we've talked before, there's two schools of thought there. But I just wanna make sure that the state knows that there's other options besides that.
I think the state is absolutely aware of the potential for litigation. I mean, also you have to remember that the Choctaw Nation is a part of this tribe. There's other tribes who've expressed interest. They certainly are aware of that potential outcome. And I know, at least in the conversation I've had with them, I've made it clear to them that that's a potential possibility on our side. Now, the compact as it exists today provides mutually beneficial results. It provides tens of millions of dollars worth of conservation funding throughout the state, which is good for Cherokee Nation, it's good for Cherokee citizens that live outside of the 14 counties, and it also provides funding in the 14 counties.
And I was good with this. I was good with the 1 year kind of stand back and let it go on this. I was good with that, and we don't have to get into the different things that go along with the hunting. But I've always thought if we just, like I say, put a lawyer piggy bank and took it all the way up, we might not have to ask anybody to hunt. But we can talk about that after this year. I'm good with that year.
And I appreciate that. One thing I would point out is that the current version of the compact does give Cherokee citizens who reside in the 14 counties who could otherwise exercise a probable treaty right. It gives them the right to hunt and fish all throughout the state.
Yeah.
And so that is certainly something that we're mindful of.
And I'm not calling anything good or bad, or
Sure.
I'm just talking here. Thank you.
Harley?
Chad, I don't know, maybe a year ago, Karen Ketcher had come and told us that she either got a grant or got funding for some soil conservation stuff through someplace. But then I understand that Natural Resources had taken that over. I hadn't heard anything more about it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not familiar with the particular instance that you're referring to. Now, I can do some research on the history of grants that we've received in that space and get back to you if you'd like.
And I remember at the time we talked about some of this stuff and talked about 4-H and FFA kids utilizing some of this, but I can't remember what it's about. You remember anything about that, Speaker?
Not right off, I don't.
I'd probably have to go back and ask Karen about it, but it's been over a year that she had got the grant or had got authorized to use some type of money like that from the Bureau, I believe. So I'll visit with Karen and see where it is.
I'll also visit with Karen and see if we can identify that and bring that back.
All right, thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Thank you. Done good. Old business none, new business none, announcements. Need one more motion.
So moved.
Second.
They get back on time.
All in favor? Aye. We are.